Debt, budgets, savings, spending. Most couples would rather do anything than talk about this. But then when financial stresses pushes them to the brink, divorce can seem like the only option. Financial intimacy should not be an afterthought in your marriage.
And we get it. It feels awkward, unsexy, and honestly, kind of scary to talk about money with your spouse, especially if you've avoided it for the most part. That's why we want to share some of the top things we've learned about money and marriage after climbing out of debt, healing broken trust from secret spending, and finally getting on the same page. Because believe it or not, talking about money can actually bring the two of you closer together.
Financial conflict is consistently cited as a top predictor of divorce. Now, what we share is not financial advice. What we discuss are ways for you to create an extraordinary marriage when it comes to this sensitive topic of money.
So, financial intimacy is the closest end connection that's created through all aspects of your money. It's not just let's create a budget, but takes into account your daily spending, investment, long term planning, insurance, and even estate planning. Tony and I have been married quite a long time now. And
Well, we've been married since 1996.
like I said, quite a long time, which means that we've had a lot of financial circumstances in the 30 years we've been married. We've had everything from having to figure out even how to join our finances and start with what does a joint account look like, which for some of you is where that first friction point comes in. Like, how do we bring this all together? And how do you spend? And how does she spend? What does that look like? To navigating situations, even personally, where I got into some secret spending. I was responsible for all of the Christmas presents and making sure everybody had Christmas. One year in particular, I didn't tell Tony how much I was spending. It got us to the point where after Christmas, when we had to discuss what our budget was going to look like for January, I had to share that we were about $800 in the hole coming out of that Christmas and heading into January.
And for many of you, you may be going, well, it's only $800. This was during the Great Recession. So, for those of you who remember that 2008 to 2012 time period, we experienced here in the United States the Great Recession. And at that point in time, we had very little income coming in. We were on the verge of losing our home, which we eventually did lose. And so, the dollar amount can sometimes sound like, well, that's not a lot. And yet it also depends on our circumstances, where we are in our marriage, what's going on, job loss, businesses are changing, the economy. And so financial intimacy can have an impact no matter the dollar amount.
That's just one example of what that has looked like in our own marriage and what we had to do to navigate the conversations to rebuild trust. Because I will tell you, as a marriage coach, that when you break trust, when it comes to your money, that is a form of infidelity. Financial infidelity is actually a term that is used because it hurts the same way as emotional infidelity or sexual infidelity. There's broken trust that needs to be repaired and hard conversations that need to happen and actions that need to be taken. And maybe it's not financial infidelity in your marriage. Other things that we've had to navigate are spending limits. What is an agreed upon limit that we can just go out and you spend that and no big deal? But if it hits this threshold, maybe the two of you will actually call it a threshold. When it hits a threshold, you have to have a conversation about it so that it doesn't negatively impact your numbers for the month.
For some of you, you may have been dealing with debt or you have dealt with it in the past. We have dealt with that ourselves in different times and in different seasons of our marriage. At one point in time, about 5 years into our marriage, we sat down and we had to determine where were we spending our money and where did we have debts. And at that point in time, we had $50,000 in debt. And so we had to get on a plan. We had to figure things out. Here's the thing though. If you two don't talk to one another about debt, about spending, about possibly a spending threshold, then you don't know what's going on. And that can create cracks in your financial intimacy pillar.
Now, we mentioned a few of our challenges, but as a coach, some of the biggest pitfalls that I see couples fall into is that one spouse controls all the money and the other is kept in the dark. Maybe they don't want to be involved. Maybe they've just chosen not to. Like I said, hiding purchases or debt, avoiding money conversations altogether because maybe they always end in a fight. Or maybe you simply don't talk about your own money tendencies, how you saw it managed when you were growing up, what your parents did, maybe even in your young adult years, how you spent money well or not so well. And what happens is all of those circumstances come together. We bring all of our own stuff, and our spouse brings all of their own stuff, and then we mix it together in this thing called marriage. But when we have all of these pitfalls when it comes to finances, that can really stir up a lot of emotions.
There could be guilt on the way you are spending money or your spouse is spending money. There could be shame because of that secret spending you're doing. There's broken trust. You do not feel like you are true teammates in this thing called marriage. And so your emotions begin to spiral around a topic or topics under that financial intimacy pillar that need to happen. So let's begin to do that together.
So, here are some practical tips for healthy financial intimacy. One of the things that I think is so important, I see this with a lot of my coaching clients, and I think you and I have talked about this too, is just having those regular money conversations.
This is huge. I would say there have been times in our marriage when we haven't had those regular money
100%.
conversations.
100%.
And what ends up happening, we talked about those emotions you may have. There's shame, there's guilt, secrecy. And yet, when we begin to open up, peel back the onion a little bit around our finances, we become closer together. And I also believe we become true teammates. We're figuring out the issues that we have around our finances, and together, and even sometimes individually, what is working better? How can I help you here? What could we do there? And it opens up so many honest conversations, not just about our money, but about other areas of our marriage as well.
Another simple strategy is making sure that the two of you have joint access and knowledge of all of the accounts and passwords. It's so easy just to have all this secret stuff, but if you have one place where
Mhm.
it's all shared, that really does make a difference in the level of transparency.
We have been doing this for years, and to this day, we are still working on it ourselves. There are so many different accounts that happen as we age and as we are married longer. And so having access to these, understanding where they are, it could be from your retirement accounts to life insurance, mortgages, trust, will,
All of it.
all of it. And then sometimes it's not even just yours. If you have aging parents, you may have to also watch over their accounts and knowing where their information is. And so having it all together is huge and helpful.
One of the most powerful exercises that the two of you can do together is to sit down. You know, you've got these regular money conversations, you're having the honest conversations about money and finances. Get your shared financial goals in place. It's one thing to say, hey, we want to do this in the future. It's a whole nother level when the two of you really sit down and define what that is and how you're going to get there.
Remember, goals move. Your financial goals are going to do the same thing. And so have this conversation as often as needed. You may hit one, you may miss one. It's okay. Having the conversation around those financial goals helps you to see where you are going together as a team to strengthen your financial intimacy pillar.
You don't have to be perfect with money to have a strong and healthy financial intimacy pillar. That closeness and connection comes from being honest with each other, dreaming about the future you want, and then working together to make it a reality. If money has been a source of tension in your home, break the ice today by asking about a money goal your spouse has. Do you want to renovate the bathroom? Go to an all inclusive resort? Or even just finally make that large purchase you both have been putting off?
Ask the question and keep the conversation going. And if you want help getting started, we will put a link below with 26 money prompts you can use together. If this is your first time here, we're Tony and Elisa DiLorenzo, creators of the 6 Pillars of Intimacy. If this video helped you, give it a like so it can get in front of more couples, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next one. We'll see you next time. Love you guys.